Advanced Principles Podcast, or app, was created to be an outlet for like-minded individuals to share in the broader conversations on leadership, retail market updates, and incredible personal success stories. On app, you will hear a collection of stories from the titans of the retail industry, as well as thought and practice leaders covering the spectrum of the economy. Please click the subscribe button and look for the newest episodes to be released.
Sell your house, sell your car. And by the way, this is a profession I want you.
You are the sum of what you surround yourself with.
The never-ending need for some solid financial advice.
But were you able to find one or two people that kind of took you under their wing and really helped you grasp what it is the industry does? Mason Samuels is from True Wealth Advisors Incorporated, a financial advisory firm located in Denver, Colorado. True Wealth Advisors specializes in helping individuals, families, and business owners in working towards their financial goals. Mason graduated from Mid-American Nazarene University with a BA in Business Communications and Business Administration. He is a registered representative with LPL Financial and holds a Series 6 and 7 as well as a Series 66 license. Additionally, Mason's is a chartered retirement planning counselor, an accredited investment fiduciary, a certified Kingdom advisor, and one of Dave Ramsey's Smart Investor Pros. He is currently ranked in the top 1% of all advisors nationwide, ranked as the top advisor under 40 in Colorado, and the 74th overall ranked advisor in all advisors for the state of Colorado. Mason and his wife Katie have led financial education courses, Financial Peace University, at their church for the last 15 years, positively impacting hundreds, if not thousands, of individuals and families. Mason lives just outside of Denver, Colorado with his wife and their 4 incredible girls. As I got introduced to Dave Ramsey, and certainly you and I met, and not at a Dave Ramsey event, but a similar structure. Yeah. And we'll talk a little bit about prospecting and just really putting yourself out there, because I commend you for attending that day and doing that seminar. But when you kind of experience the FPU, you really realize the lack of financial education that exists in our world today. I feel so fortunate because, as you mentioned, Valor Christian does a great job teaching Dave Ramsey's, financial course to the seniors for one of the semesters. And, I feel very blessed to have my kids been able to be exposed to that without the mom and dad coming over the top, because it just sounds better coming from someone else. But why do you think there is such a lack of financial education and accessibility to financial literacy courses across the country?
Oh man, I mean, yeah, wow, that is a point in my heart. I know we share the same passion for helping anyone and everyone we can, getting the word out. Just like my buddy invited me, you've invited many people. You and your wife in your life, we've invited many people. But it's mind blowing. I'm dumbfounded how I, as a very intelligent, good area, high school, college graduate, double degree, how I knew squat about managing my day-to-day financial life. And I went to great schools, I got great education, and I'm one of millions and millions and millions and millions of people that has the same story. It's like, wait, how did I get through college and not know? Yeah, I've heard the word debt, I've heard savings. Yeah, I know what that means, but like, how do I do it? Why is it bad? Why is it good? Where? I mean, nothing. What does living within your means actually look like? How do I do it? And you hear about those muscles of your financial body, so to speak, but no one ever teaches you how to lift them and train them and grow them. And man, I could go on, but it drives me nuts that it is so few and far between where people know that. And as a parent of 4 girls, I think so much of that that I encourage anyone listening is most of that starts from the top, from your parents, right? And if you're a grandparent listening, you still got time, right? As Ramsey says, if you're sucking wind, you still got time, right? So we need to take responsibility for what we can do, our house, our kids, our own family. But man, also tell your friends, spread the word, because as we all know, you don't hear, and you hear words, you hear phrases, but no one teaches you how to lift those muscles. No one teaches you how to do the stuff. No one teaches you how to get stronger. No one teaches you how to not debilitate yourself with debt, student loan debt, and many other things. And yeah, so I don't know why it is barely easing into this school and that school, but I don't know why that's not a standard course. It
Yeah.
blows my mind that, millions and millions and millions of people can get through college and basically not know squat about personal finance.
Yeah, and it smacked so many people in the face over this last year and a half.
Yeah,
Before stimulus, before PPP,
yeah,
not just individuals. We're talking companies
yeah,
don't live
yep.
with the financial sense that they should. And I think the importance of an emergency fund, which
Oh my gosh.
is such it's baby step number one, get that $1,000 emergency fund,
Yep, so
is
you don't go into debt.
how many
Yeah,
people survived
yeah,
and were less worried because they had that emergency fund.
yeah,
Not just individuals, not just couples, not just families, but businesses.
yeah,
And I think, hopefully that was a smack in the face for the large
yeah.
portion of the population, that they go out and seek some level of education, because it is there, it is available, it is attainable.
It's all over now. You just got to find it though. It's not handed to you.
Right, exactly. You got to go looking. It's not going to fall in your lap unless
Yeah,
you have a really good friend like you have had and I have had that introduce
yeah,
us to it.
yeah.
But hopefully some people took some lesson to that. And I know, your course will continue and the people that you continue to impact. So on that note, what's one of the coolest success stories you've had from your Financial Peace University time doing that course? And just because let's be fair, they're life changing if the individuals want them to be.
Yes. Yeah.
And not just life changing, some cases generational changing.
Oh yeah. I always tell people in the beginning of the class, this will actually change your life if you let it. You will get out what you put into this class. This is not a figure of speech. This is not some feel good, thing. This will literally change your life if you allow it to. It'll change, like you said, your family tree. This will change generations. This will be passed down, from generation to generation. So this could literally change your life if you grab a hold of your personal finances and start doing them better, or doing them well, or doing them exceptionally well. This will literally change your life. So like I just said, it's not a figure of speech. It's not some pep talk. That's how big of a deal this stuff is. Because right, wrong, or indifferent, your money's a big deal. And other than your faith in your family, I don't know anything else on earth that encompasses all of your feelings, your emotions, your stresses, your happiness, your joy. I know nothing else outside of those two things that money doesn't impact as much as anything else. So it's a big, big deal. And so, yeah, I've seen story after story after story. So I've done the Ramsey stuff, like attending the class and mostly facilitating the class, leading the class, for basically 15 or 16 years now.
Wow.
And so you can imagine I've had story after story after story where someone will grab me in the hallway, or someone will call me out of nowhere. Someone that I straight up forgot their name will shoot me an email. We paid off the house. I finally got the student loan gone. We're retiring. And I call them God stories. I call it God math. That's one of my favorite things. I've got a lot of quotes and phrases from other people, but God math is pat myself on the back here. I made up that phrase. But what God math means to me is the answer to your question, where things seem bleak and things don't make sense, and you don't think they got enough time, you don't think they got enough money, and you don't think that things are going to change. When people change their heart and it drops from their mind into their heart, like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to be different, our family's going to be different forever, I'm never going to feel like that again. I have had story after story of God math that doesn't add up. But when you do things well and you do things disciplined, it always adds up. And I've had so many stories. The best one was this couple that their marriage was hanging on by a thread. This was roughly 10 years ago. And then the pastor, so I didn't tell people what I did, by the way. I go to FPU to serve, right? I don't go there for business. People are like, how do you know so much? I'm like, well, I really love Ramsey. So I'm not there for business. But this particular couple, their marriage was hanging on by a thread. They were in FPU, but then the pastor referred them to me professionally because he knew I do this professionally. So, oh yeah, Mason? Okay. Oh, he does that, because they had a lot of it was money fights and money drama. Long story short, if you would have asked me right after that first meeting I had with them professionally, I've been like, they're never going to retire. They're not going to make it, because mathematically, professionally, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't see it. 10 years later, they sent me a photo it was in springtime. They sent me a photo of the first vacation they've ever done. He just retired, she just retired, and they made it, right? And I didn't think they were going to make it. And I'm an optimist to the fullest, right? And I straight up was like, they ain't going to make it. And they did, and they sent that text. I started crying. And if I could turn my camera, they made me this cool little, or brought me home this cool little trinket that they got from there to say thank you for all the help. But there's so many stories like that. That's one of the better ones, where the marriage is hanging on by a thread. Their finances were devastating. It didn't look good in either scenario. And all of that, which started a large part with money, literally transformed their life. And they're retired, and they're happy, and they're serving, and they're giving, and they're with their kids and their grandkids. And I couldn't be happier for them.
Yeah, and you change your family tree. I mean, it is truly amazing. And you step back and you sit back, and all of the hundreds, if not thousands, of FPU coordinators and facilitators out there, they have very similar stories. And I don't just randomly, I got a text a couple of weeks ago from someone that I had worked with, and just absolutely is like, you know what, I didn't believe you. I didn't want to acknowledge that I was in the position that I was in, because I viewed myself as smart and sophisticated and intelligent and good with money. But wow, once I really took to heart the message, yeah, I have changed my life in 18 months. You know, we have completely inverted our story, and it is just cool. And there's hundreds of those. So, you know, thank you for the work that you're doing, and the lives that you're impacting, the lives that you're changing. And I know you'll continue to do that work.
Thank you, because I know you're host, and I know you're doing your advanced dealer solutions. But let me tell you, whoever's listening, this man, you and Julie are a big, big deal, and you've literally impacted countless lives, changed countless lives. So I know you're interviewing me, but let me just tell you, people listening, you two are special, and you've got a gift. And yeah, we're talking about money, we're talking about personal finance. That's obviously a huge tool. But the reason that we're fired up about this stuff is not because they have more money in their bank account. It's because their peace of mind, their marriage is better, their life is better, their anxiety's gone. You know, they're focused, they're happy, they're plugging into things they want to plug into. The stuff that really matters is freed up to the utmost when your finances are on point. So it's about the money, but it's not about the money. So I want to commend you, because you and Julie are exceptional, and you're some of the most special people I've ever seen in this space.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate that very much. So, So, you know, kind of as we look now in the true wealth management and the guidance that you provide, I think, you know, have you talk a couple of the unique things that your firm does. I think, you know, not just being money managers and sending statements monthly or quarterly, but you really dig in the trenches, and you give advice if sought, and all of that. But I got to think a lot of people start with the question, well, Mason, how much money do I need in retirement? How do you unpack that? Because I think people are programmed at a certain age, although they're not programmed how to manage money, but they're programmed to ask that question.
Right.
Yeah, like, how much money do I need? So where do you start with that?
Right. So, I mean, the answer is it depends, because everyone's different, right? And the usual answer is, you know, you need to say most people usually want to live a similar lifestyle in retirement to what they're used to living in, you know, while they're working. So if a family's making 100 grand, they want to feel like they're making 100 grand when they don't have income. So their number's different than someone who's making, you know, 200 grand that wants to feel like they're making 200 grand. So, I mean, there's similar numbers, you know, ish, you know, does someone have a bigger or smaller Social Security? Do they have a pension or not? Right. Those things are largely gone, but do they have a pension or not? Do they have enough here, enough there? How much longer are they going to work? I mean, you know, can you do part-time work while you're retired? I mean, there's so many variables, and that's why professionals are helpful, because it's like, okay, well, what about this and what about that? But yeah, people are like, so what do I need to get to? I'm like, well, what do you want? Because, you know, some of my wealthiest clients were average Joes, you know, teachers and just blue collar jobs and plumbers and you know, many other things. But you would not know. If you saw my top 10 clients in a room, you'd have no clue. One of them's a little showy. The other 9, you'd have no idea. You'd have no idea, right? You just think like, oh man, are you sure you can buy, you know, Chipotle? Like, are you sure? Like, do you want me to pick it up? Like, you would never know. But those people, right? They're loaded, but they don't need much on a month-to-month basis, because they, you know, some of them, right? Everyone's different. But they're like, yeah, I'm good with this. I'm serving at my church. I'm serving at my nonprofits. I'm, you know, traveling to hang out with my kids and grandkids all the time. So, you know, so everyone's answer is different. And that's why, you know, financial plans are a big deal, because it truly is unique. You know, generally speaking, the $1 million, that the proverbial $1 million you needed to get to, that number is closer to 2 million for most people, right? And a decade or so from now, that number is gonna be closer to 3 million. But again, it just depends on who you are, what you're looking for. Do you want more or less in retirement? Some people live on nothing so that they can double their income in retirement. So, all right, well, you need more. Some people want to be done at 55. Okay, well, you need more, right? So it all depends.
Yeah, it's the everyday millionaire. An everyday millionaire still fascinates me because, especially with the narrative that's being thrown around so much politically around the wealthy, and it's just you don't necessarily make wealthy annual income to become wealthy. It's the decisions that you make day in and day out, and the planning and the preparing and working with individuals like yourself to set yourself up to live the way that you want to live like no one else. And it just amazes me that those people are somewhat shunned because they've lived a life of discipline and practice and planning and process, which is a shame to some regard.
Well, can I interject? Because the book you just brought up is easily one of my most favorite. It's just a fun read. It's fascinating more than anything. But I know you probably know this, but for everyone listening that doesn't, the reason they called it The Millionaire Next Door is that I think it was a father and son and a couple other people, they studied something like 1,000 or 1,500 or 2,000 millionaires. So people that had a net worth of $1 million or more. They asked them all sorts of questions. What do you drive? What house do you have? How much money do you make? What's your job? Right. And so they just compiled all this data, and they had a different name for the book. But the reason they named it The Millionaire Next Door is they learned very, very quickly that the average millionaire, you'd have no idea. Mm-hmm. The average millionaire drives a 10 to 12-year-old used car. The average millionaire's got a white t-shirt and jeans. The average millionaire lives in just an average, suburban type of house, right? And as they learned this from survey after survey and study after study, they then called it The Millionaire Next Door. And that concept, I could tell you professionally, is 100% true, because most of my clients are the millionaires next door. And it's not rocket science. It's just hard work, like we've been talking about. And I love that book. It's just a fun read. It's a fascinating read. But the reason they called it that is because that's what works, right? 90% of Americans are self-made. 90% of millionaires, or 90% of millionaires are self-made. That's one of the many things they found out. And so, so just think about that stuff. It doesn't matter who you are. I like to say, it doesn't matter what you make. It matters what you do with what you make. So, that's what they learned, and that's why they called the book that.
Yeah, absolutely. So it brings me to another point that I want to add clarification. There's a lot of people that, hey, I just graduated college. I'm early in life. I don't know what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to put off starting my savings, whether it's short-term savings, long-term savings, retirement savings, and planning, because I'm in my 20s. I'm young. I got time. How early, when do you suggest people to start the planning process and the saving?
So I think one of the biggest fundamental answers to your question is really the most important thing is the behavior, and training yourself the behavior of saving and the necessity of saving, and just making it a part of your life. And so do that immediately. Right now, if you're burdened in debt, like Ramsey talks about, and like I believe, if you got tons of student loan as a young person, credit card debt, whatever, yes, you need to have your emergency fund so you don't go into more debt, right? Get $1,000 or $2,000 in the bank so you don't have to run to the credit card when you get a flat tire. But get the debt gone for a year or two if you've got a lot of debt. That's what I did, right? I sold my house, sold my car, moved home with my folks when I was 24, which was not cool to do, right? But I was like, I'm changing my life and I'm going somewhere. So when I met my now wife, I was like, yeah, I live in a 4-bedroom house in Highlands Ranch with the view. Got some roommates, but but anyway, so yeah, you got to do what you got to do. So if you got to grind it for a year or two, that is essential, because you want to fill up the hole, get the hole gone. But as soon as possible, whether if your college is paid for, save right away. If your college wasn't paid for, if you got a lot of debt, if you racked up some credit card debt, if you're anybody, whether you're college or not, handle your business, as I say, get the debt gone. But to answer your question is save immediately when it makes sense, of course, right? When you can save, but that's a behavior modification that trains you to make that a priority, make yourself a priority. And I think that's essential, that you save ASAP, right? And of course, I would encourage people, I like to say, always try to live 2 pay raises behind, right? So when you get a pay raise, save a little more. When you get another pay raise, save a little more. Or if you're living, saving here and you get a bonus unexpected, pretend like that didn't exist and save some or all of that. So it's not brain surgery, it's behavior modification. If you can learn to modify your behavior and make that a part of your DNA, as soon as possible will literally change your life. And it goes without saying, the sooner you save, the quicker you have a decision to do whatever you want to do. We talk about retirement. I mean, that's the word it's thrown around. Everyone knows what retirement means, but I believe in you having the ability to do what you want to do as soon as possible financially. Yep. Right. And if you want to keep working and that's your passion, that's what you love, great. You don't have to, though. If you want to be done with work and you want to start something new and you want to travel and whatever it is, then great. You got the financial ability to do so. So the sooner you save, the sooner you get to that point in life.
So it brings up kind of a buzzworthy movement over the last couple of years, which is the FIRE movement, financially independent and retire early. And a lot of these late 20s to mid 30s individuals who are choosing to live life their own way, whether it's blogging out of a van on the Pacific Coast or, entrenching themselves in their business. So what do you think of that overall movement and sometimes the lack of education that comes from the storylines that are out there?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of things because it's story to story. I see those often in all my money stuff, but you're like, I'm retiring at 35 with $1 million. I'm like, I mean, awesome. Like, that's awesome. But I don't know if that's going to last another 65 years. Like, you might need to make it a little bit more, but anyways, so the concept I love, right? Like, I want you to have financial freedom as soon as possible, right? Which means you can do what you want to do. Our company name, True Wealth, we say true wealth is what money can't buy and death can't take away. So each of us have our gifts, our talents, our resources, our loves, our hobbies, right? And I want people to financially be able to do that as soon as or more than they normally do as soon as possible. And so, with those people, the FIRE movement, I love the concept, but you don't want to sacrifice 20 years where you're locked in your office and you never see your family, and then you regret the things that matter the most, which is your family and your friends, and you don't foster relationships so that you can just say that you retired 5 years earlier, right? So it's of course about the balance. But again, I'm all for get after it, get it gone. And I love those types of things. But some of those stories, like a lot of things on media, make me eye roll a little bit. But the concept, that's I'm all for that. But some of those particular stories, I don't know if I believe them. Well, we'll see what they really look like 15 years from now.
Right, exactly. No question. And there's probably some roadblocks that they haven't yet anticipated. But again, the concept is phenomenal. Get out and get doing what you want to do as early as possible. And and everyone has that ability. Absolutely, everyone. And this is, like I kind of said earlier, that's my kind of like the phase 2 struggles of my life, is I got to a place where it was work, and not from a bad place, but business was booming and I was hiring people and having to train them and put in 2 to 3 times more effort than normal because I got to train them to get them up to speed and get them to be great leaders and so on and so forth. And I was drifting away from what mattered most. And I was drifting away from the time that my wife deserved and the time that my babies deserved, the time that I deserved. I wasn't working out as much. I wasn't doing quiet time enough. I wasn't, you and I love golf. I wasn't golfing hardly ever. Like, I wasn't recharging my batteries enough. And so the big thing to me is, the cliche balance, which a lot of those things, I assume a lot of those types of stories don't have balance. And that is what bothers me more than the money and more than the retiring young. It's more so, okay, I'm assuming that not all of you, but most of you probably aren't hanging out with your family enough and doing enough quiet time and taking care of your body and whatever else it is. And so, I think the biggest thing is taking care of yourself the whole way through, taking care of the things that matter most the whole way through. Yeah. So keeping that first and foremost.
Yeah. And I got one more thing that I love. I got to share this on your podcast. What I'm saying with that is this. I heard this gentleman talking, 10, 12 years ago, forever changed my life. He said he had this thing that he was a pastor, like a deathbed pastor. So he was one of the associate pastors at a church and went to literally, I think he said, hundreds of people's last hours, last days, and prayed over them and loved on them. And that was just his gifting and niche. And so he had this phrase that he called Deathbed Regrets. And he had this little mini message. And it was really, okay, imagine yourself, you got a week left to live. You got 2 weeks left to live. Like, try to put your brain in that situation. Put yourself on your hypothetical deathbed. At that time, what are you going to actually regret? What are you going to actually regret? He goes, and he's like, I've literally seen hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people at that moment. You all have never heard anything materialistic. I've never heard someone say, man, if I would have got that one more sale at work, then my life would have been complete. And you know what? If I would have had one more bedroom in my house, like then life would have been complete. And you know what? Why don't you drive up my BMW to the window so I can look at it one more time at my last breath? You know what? Print out my money and put it on my chest so I can just hold it while I go to my resting place. No one has ever said that, and no one ever will. And so I think about that all the time about, okay, what am I doing now so that, he encouraged you, what are you doing now? Think of the deathbed and live your life in reverse, right? So you don't have the real life deathbed regrets. And that's really what I'm saying, is that life balance, that quality of life, the things that really matter, your faith, your family, your relationships, that's always what's going to matter most. That's the stuff we're all going to actually regret, and live your life in reverse. So I had to throw that in there because that changed my life. It changed my thinking forever and helped me to simplify, to slow down, and to focus on what really matters and be where I am. And wherever that is, be fully there and not regret and miss those little moments. When my daughter's coloring a silly little trolls picture, I need to be in that moment, not miss that moment thinking about a sale, right? So I love that deathbed regrets concept.
Yeah, I think a life lessons book is coming out of this. I think that
let's
a
go.
life lessons book by Mason Samuels is coming out. I can write the intro.
Let's go. All right.
But that's fantastic. Great advice. So, what does the future hold? Obviously, the investment world is changing. The number of true individual retail investors, Robinhood, all the different apps, kind of the disruption of the advisor status and all of the kind of anti-advisor commercials that you see on television nowadays and everything. So, what does the future hold for the industry? And then what does the future hold for you and your team?
Yeah, it's a wonderful question, very thought out with all those pieces. The Robinhood, Vanguard type of stuff, generally speaking, for like basically ever since I've been in the industry and known about all these things for, 13, 14 years, generally speaking, about a third of Americans work with, advisors. About a third of Americans are what we've simply called do-it-yourselfers, the Robinhood, the Vanguard, maybe they only have a 401k. And then about a third of people essentially have no money and never save. And so that's been the averages over time. And so Robinhood is, of course, kind of the new thing right now. But at the end of the day, what we're seeing with a lot of the numbers is that those kind of third hasn't changed much. As a matter of fact, our industry as a whole, I just saw something not too long ago, is grown slightly, which is interesting because probably a lot of people are like, yeah, I'm not doing great at this. And this stresses me out. And I don't want to deal with that. So that third is always there. And I encourage my team, don't chase 2/3 of people, right? If they're like, oh, I got this and I got that, I'm like, it's not your people. That's okay. But we've seen a tiny tick up, which is good. Then professionally, with our firm and what we focus on is refining and becoming better and better each and every day with what we do, how we do it, how we say it. Because at the end of the day, whatever industry you're in, service and care and love and doing the best you can, people feel that, right? We all have similar things to sell, or ADS has got similar things as everyone else, but at the end of the day, you are what makes the difference. I'm as a person that makes the difference. In any industry, it's the same thing. If you go to this pizza shop or that pizza shop, whoever cares about you and gives you the most energy, you're probably going to go back there. So I think it's no different in our industry. And so we are hyper focused on those aspects of our business, of customer service, of love, of better communication, and just continuing to grow and do the best we can bit by bit, and also making those things sustainable and easy to do for myself and my whole team. And then our team is nimble on purpose. Our industry, you can work out of your basement and be by yourself your whole life. You can join a firm of 50 people. You can branch out on your own like I did 5 years ago. Now there's 12 of us. So there's all different ways to kind of go about it. But, our business is very selective because we care, just like you guys, a lot more about the culture and the day-to-day life around here. So yeah, we might grow a person or two, but I didn't try to grow 12 people. I could go ask 500 advisors today, like, hey, join my firm. We'll give you a sweet deal. And, you can be a part of True Wealth, but we're more focused on family, togetherness, and serving and loving our people. So we're a very large firm compared to the averages, but we're a very nimble firm compared to the averages because we're hyper focused on culture. So that'll never change. But we are trying to be the best we can, that we can all be together, and that's our main focus, and serving as well as we can. One other book phrase is, we've got the right people on the bus, and we're always trying to make sure we're in the right seats on the bus. And so making sure we use our talents, our gifts, our tools, our resources, and doing the best we can collectively. So we're very selective on who gets on the bus, but we're trying to serve the best we can on this bus ride.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So as we wrap up here, I like to end every episode with a fast five questions that you have no idea are coming. They're going to be random. I have no idea if they make any sense or not, but just kind of a light way to end the episode. Right. So are you ready for these?
I'm ready.
Okay. So the first one, I'm going to interject a little bit of a personal story. So I lived in Colorado for 9 years. I loved it. It was very difficult to move. I still miss it pretty much every single day out of the year. And one of the things, though, that I didn't care about Colorado is they didn't have In-N-Out. I had to go to Utah. I had to go to Arizona. I had to go to California. And my last few years, I had to go down to Texas to get In-N-Out. And then I move and they bring In-N-Out. So what has In-N-Out brought to Colorado? And am I missing as much as I thought I was?
Okay. So they opened their first store right before COVID. I can't remember if it was January, February, or whatever, but like right before COVID, they opened their first store in Park Meadows, which you know where it is. Mm-hmm. And by the way, the location, if you remember where the Chick-fil-A is, that was always insane.
It was a zoo already.
Right. And they put it right next to it. So anyways, I thought the location, it's a great location, but it's a terrible logistical location. Anyways, so they threw it there. And you may remember there's an enormous container store. It's gone out of business a lot. It's that massive warehouse that was like some home stores and a couple different things, but it was largely vacant most of the years you were here, right by the highway, if you remember that. Mm-hmm. That between In-N-Out and that building, which has a massive parking lot, they had a line, which is roughly half a mile or so. They had a line and cones just for In-N-Out, and they were zigzagging in that parking lot.
Oh my gosh.
For months. So funny that you asked that, because just this weekend we went to In-N-Out for the first time, because it's only about an hour wait now.
My gosh.
My girls have never been there. We took them there. We went and played 9 holes at a par 3 course, and took them there afterwards for the first time, and only waited about an hour. But for months, it was on average, I heard a 3 to 4 hour wait, and the line was literally a half a mile long, bumper to bumper. And a lot of those times, because I drove by it several times, a lot of those times it zigzagged in that massive parking lot too.
Oh my God.
I know that was a longer answer than you wanted, but I thought you'd be curious to know. But yes, it's good. It's delicious, but it is insanity.
My gosh. So did you go on menu or off menu for your individual order?
We went off menu, and then the girls don't want to take chances, so they just went on menu. So
okay, there you go.
Style. Yeah. We got it. We got the off menu.
I'm totally craving a 4x4 right now.
It's spectacular. It was worth the wait, but we didn't even try to go for basically a year plus, because it was.
My gosh, unbelievable!
And then they're putting one in Parker right by our house, so I might not ever be able to get home. So.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. So you talked about being an athlete, about playing football growing up and through college, and you're still actively involved in the game. So what's your best memory from football? Locker room, on field, off field, just any best memory?
Yeah, I mean, mine, college was my best memory by far. We had a culture that was unlike any. It was a private Christian college, so we had a lot of faith aspects to it, and brotherhood was always a priority, and serving one another and lifting one another up, and just those 4 years of camaraderie that's completely different in college and high school, because you basically live together, and then when you're done, you go eat together. When you're done eating together, you go hang out together. So you just do life together. So to this day, some of my best friends in the world are from my college football team, and a lot of them don't live in state anymore. But yeah, so just the camaraderie, the togetherness, and then our 4 years we were there was the best 4 years on the field that our school ever had. So that was fun too. We had a couple of good wins, and never made it too far. We made it to playoffs, never made it too far, but it was a great camaraderie and just the unique nature of what it was, because it really didn't feel like business ever, which I know a lot of D1 schools and D2 and a lot of any college athletics of any type can feel like work, and ours didn't. It felt like fun and family.
Yeah, that's very, very cool. So one thing that you have definitely done a great job of is rewarding yourself, you and your wife, you as an individual, of course, your family and your four girls, by traveling. And you've gone to some really cool destinations. So overall, what's your best travel destination? If you could pick up tomorrow and head
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
what is it?
Yeah, oh man, good. Right now, so we're just getting going. Our youngest is 4, so we finally have kind of been able to move and not need to do naps and diapers and all that. But I my answer right now would be Hawaii. We did
Mm,
a 2-week trip to Hawaii. Spectacular. Our girls love the water, the beaches, the calm. So yeah, Hawaii would be my answer right
there you go. Fantastic. Okay, so if people notice in our newsletter or not, we featured your vehicle a few months ago.
now. You'll remember it if you saw it.
So this isn't even going to be a question, but so what was it like the first time you had to drive it? And give a brief description of the vehicle so we can add some
All right.
context to it, maybe
Yeah.
even the story of how it came to be. And then what was it like the first time you drove? You went on a solo mission in that thing.
All right. So as I've said, my wife and I, we have 4 baby girls, and people are always like, "Are you gonna try for a boy?" I'm like, "I did," and we got 4 girls, and God made it clear we're gonna have all girls. So I am all in on loving and representing, and I've got so much pride with my baby girls. So as Ryan knows, we've played a couple rounds of golf together. I've got hot pink everything, and I don't do the Mary Kay pink. We it's hot pink only. It's just a shout out to my girls. It's my silly way to show love and show my pride for them. So we go to a charter school, a local charter school, and there's no buses. So you have to take your kids to and from, drop them off, pick them up every day. So my wife, if you knew anything about my wife, you'd be cracking up. But we just had a white Tahoe, right? So, big enough to get the strollers in and all that for years in that stage of life. And when she would go to pick them up, there was 2 or 3 times last year where the girls walked into the wrong white Tahoe. And my wife's like, "Oh, no, never again." So we needed a new car because that one was getting beat up from Cheerios and milk spills and all that. So we got a used Escalade, and it is now hot pink. So if you saw the newsletter, you know exactly that's our car. And it is everything you can imagine. The looks we get, the laughs we get, the points we get, it is worth every bit of ridiculousness that thing is. So there's no mistaking what car to go into anymore. There will be no more entering into the wrong hot pink car, and the girls lovingly named it the Escalade. So
The
that's our
Escalade.
ride, the Escalade. So yeah, so we love it. And yeah, so my wife, it's her primary ride. I've just got an F-150. And so the first time I got to drive it was a couple weeks after, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, just wait till you drive it." And when you drive it, you see the reactions, the cell phones, the points, the laughs. You get a couple eye rolls for sure, but people, it's way more happiness than anything else. So
It's not a little hot pink. It's all hot pink.
Yeah.
It is.
And I will say the rest of it's murdered out. So it's a paints are hot pink. It's black, everything else, the wheels, the lights. But yeah, it is hot pink. So yeah, if you haven't seen it, that is worthy of shooting out some pictures if someone asks, because it's that ridiculous.
Wow. All right. So just before we got on and started actual recording, we were talking about one of our recent loves that we have found, which is Ted Lasso. Yeah. Absolutely one of the best shows in history, in my opinion, the writing, everything. So Ted Lasso is a coach. You've had a tremendous amount of time coaching. So kind of a 2-part question here. One, what is the most relatable coaching moment from Ted Lasso that you have? And then also kind of what's your best Ted Lasso line or moment?
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I love that show. So my wife and I have watched the whole first season. We're waiting. So as this is being recorded, I think, Ryan, you said there's 1 or 2 more shows left. So it's almost done. So we're waiting to watch the second season, but we love that show. And the reason I love it that much is because so much of how he coaches is how I coached, where he's lighthearted, he's having fun, he's doing unique stuff, he cares about them as people, does things uniquely and hilariously, if that's even a word. But I just relate to him as a character. I love coaches in general that are like Ted Lasso, lighthearted, have fun, but also care and pour into their people, from the head of the place to the least of these on the staff. So I think I love that part. I relate to all of that personality style. I think he's great. That's why I love it so much. And then my favorite moment is probably, I think, the very first scene where he does that dance.
Oh, absolutely.
I like every time I'm happy, I think of that dance in my mind. If I want to send out a funny GIF, I send out that dance. That's my jam. I love that moment.
Oh, that is great. In the Wichita State locker room. Yeah, I absolutely love it.
I can't do it. It's amazing though.
It could be on a total repeat. I don't know how he came up with it, but it is phenomenal. No doubt. Yeah. Well, Mason, this has been fantastic. I've really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you again for carving out the time in your busy schedule and all that you have going on to make time for us. Share us a little bit with our audience about you, your background, what really drives and motivates you. I've really, really enjoyed it. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for doing this. It's an absolute pleasure. I hope it goes over well, and appreciate all you guys do, and keep making a difference in the world like you are. Thank you for having me on.
Yep. And I'm going to look for that life lessons book by you coming out here soon.
I don't know. Yeah, I'll figure it out. I just can't, I'm not a good writer, but I'll figure it out.
All right. Thanks again, Mason. We really appreciate it.
All right. Bye.
Hey everybody, this is Michael from ADS. I was glad we were able to get Mason on app to talk about financial literacy, especially with everything that has been going on in our world. A big thank you to Mason for coming on and sharing everything with us. Next week, we have Steven Apicella from Strategic DX and their main solution called Your Dealer Experience. YDE is a transformative platform to modernize the post-sales connection between the dealer, F&I administrators, and their customers. For all the latest episodes, you can find app on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and our website. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button.